Hello and welcome to another installment of Irie Stomach. Today we're going to prepare a delicious veggie pasta dish that can be prepared in 30 minutes or less, and it's ideal for when you want to put something together real quick for yourself or for your family, and it's nutritious and delicious. So let's get started on the ingredients. The pasta that we're going to use is penne pasta, and that's made from quinoa and golden flaxseed, and it's also gluten-free for those of you who need to have gluten-free. And I like to use it because it's very light in the tummy as well as hearty. I know that sounds weird, but it's pretty good to digest and it's good for you. I'm using Himalayan sea salt, and I'm going to be using probably about a teaspoon and a half of that, 2 tablespoons of coconut amino, and a 1/4 cup of tomato paste, a 1/4 cup of green beans, a 1/4 cup of chopped orange and red bell peppers, a 1/4 cup of artichoke hearts, 5 or 6 Brussels sprouts cut into quarters so we can have it in regards to volume, and also it's easier to cook. I've 2 Roma tomatoes cut in squares, medium-sized squares. So now let's move on to the rest of the ingredients. I'm going to position this here so that you can see it better. 4 teeth of garlic chopped, white onions, red onions, 1/2 teaspoon of cumin, 1 tablespoon of marjoram, 1 tablespoon of parsley, 1 tablespoon of oregano, and these are all dried. Fresh, about 2 sprigs of basil, 1 sprig of thyme, 1 sprig of rosemary, and about 4 sprigs of cilantro. So now that we have all our ingredients ready, we are now ready to prepare the meal. I have a pot here with about 4 quarts of water ready to boil for the pasta. I'm going to add a pinch of Himalayan salt, and I'm also going to add a capful of olive oil, and I forgot to mention that that's part of the ingredients. So we're going to let that come to a roaring boil, and once it starts boiling, we will add the pasta. So we're going to let that boil, and let's get started in the meantime on making the sauce. So I've added already 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and I've also added 1 teaspoon of the sea salt. And I'm going to turn the stove to medium-low. It's best to cook at a low heat with olive oil because we don't want to change the configuration of the olive oil, and also to keep the nutrients of the olive oil. Then once it's heated, we will start to add our ingredients. So now we've added the white onions and the red onions, and also the garlic. In terms of measurement for the white onions, it's a large white onions that I've used just a 1/4 of it, and a large red onion, and I've used just a 1/4 of it, and I've cut them in sort of like a 1/2 moon shape because we want that we still want the hardiness of the onions, and we want to be able to feel them when we eat them in the sauce. Now we've added the herbs, the fresh cut herbs, which is the basil, the thyme, and the rosemary. And we're going to let that simmer with the onion and the garlic for another minute or so before we add the next ingredients, which will be our chopped tomatoes. Here we are with the tomatoes, and we've added those in, and we're going to let that simmer in with the herbs and the other vegetable, onion and garlic, for another minute or so, and then we're going to add in the other vegetables, the artichoke, the bell peppers, and the green beans. Now we can see that our water has come to a roaring boil, and we're adding in the pasta. And we're going to let that cook for 8 minutes. So you should set a timer for 8 minutes, because we don't want to go over 8 minutes or else it's going to be soggy. So let's get over to our sauce. As you can see, we've already added the other vegetables. We've added the Brussels sprouts, the artichoke, and the green beans, and also the bell peppers. Let's not forget that. And we're going to have that sit for about a minute or so before we start adding in the dried spices. So we're adding in the spices now, the cumin here, the marjoram, parsley, and the oregano. And we're not going to add in the cilantro just yet. That is going to be at the end, because that's where you'll get the taste of it, not by it being cooked, by it being raw and just sort of marinating in the sauce, you know, and so that it's more flavorful when it's raw. You don't want to boil cilantro to death, or else you lose the taste and you lose the nutrition value. And now we're going to move on to our next ingredients, which is going to be the coconut amino. And as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be 2 tablespoons of the coconut amino. And just to, you know, in terms of the taste of coconut amino, it's a replacement. People use it for soy or Worcestershire sauce. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but Worcestershire sauce. Okay, so we're stirring that in and getting it prepared for the next ingredient, which is going to be our tomato paste. And with the tomato paste, I must mention that you add about a 1/4 cup of water with the tomato paste. That will get it to blend in with the rest of the ingredients, and also to create some liquid for your sauce. Some people, you know, they might not want it to be that liquidy, so they want to not add in the water, and you can do so if you like it extremely thick. And just remember that if you don't add in water, it's you know, you'll have to occasionally mix it while it's cooking. So we're going to cover this and have it cook for about 15 to 20 minutes. You know, it depends on your liking. 15 to 20 minutes is good, so that the Brussels sprout, which will be the hardest one in there, it can be al dente. You don't want the Brussels sprouts to be too soft. So here we are now, 15 minutes later. As you can see, the pasta is draining. It's finished and ready to go. And also the sauce is simmering, and it looks like it's ready to go. And I've tried the Brussels sprouts, and they are nice and crunchy, not too soft, not too hard, and perfect, keeping all the nutrients and giving it that nice crunchy taste, and you can taste the full flavor of the vegetable. So we're going to, in a moment, turn off the heat and add the final ingredients to this dish so we can finish this up. It's important to know that you know, as you can see, it's all nice and juicy because I've added that 1/4 cup of water. And you should use ideally spring water if you're going to use water. So here's the cilantro I'm adding in right now. And you know, like I said, I've turned off the heat, and I'm going to stir that in there. And the heat from the pot will just heat it or cook it enough to keep the flavor and the nutrients so that you can get the full taste of the cilantro. Voila, your meal is ready to be eaten. This recipe will serve 3 to 4 people. Thank you for watching Irie Stomach once again, and I hope this was helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe.